Hello, Moto.
Hello people, this is the Motorola G60s, the follow-up to the Moto G60 which just released 4 months ago. There are quite some substantial changes under the hood between the two phones, so let's take a look. If you're interested in the unboxing of this phone, then click on the information banner on the top right corner. We start off with the design and build quality. On the left is the dual SIM slot or the micro SD card slot. On the right is the clever Google Assistant button, volume buttons and the really nice textured power button. On the top is the headphone jack as well as a microphone. On the bottom is another microphone, USB-C port and a speaker. This phone has a glass screen, however Motorola doesn't specify if this is using Gorilla Glass protection. It has a plastic back and plastic frame. Now talking about the plastic back, it has this really nice texture. It looks quite stylish and unique. It's also good at not attracting any fingerprints or smudges or any dirt of some sort. The buttons are nicely designed, however the power button is quite sensitive if you put a case on it, so I would have preferred if the buttons were more firm and clicky so there's no accidentally turning on the phone. Another annoying thing is that the volume down button and the power button is so closely positioned together that sometimes you can accidentally press the two buttons together and take a screenshot, which is kind of annoying. The phone weight is slightly on the heavier side due to the big size and big battery. The camera bump on this phone is extremely minimal and it's almost flush to the plastic back. That's great to see because that means the phone won't wobble on a table much. This phone supports NFC and has dual SIM capability, or one SIM and one SD card support. There is no water resistant rating on this phone, however there is an extremely thin seal around the SIM tray slot, suggesting that there may be some level of water resistance, but I highly suggest you not take it near water. The color choices on this phone is quite limited. I've got this nice green color and there's also another blue color. The fingerprint sensor is located nicely on the back, just where the Motorola logo is. It is reasonably quick and reliable. This phone also does have face unlock and it can't be fooled with a photo of you, which is somewhat reassuring. The vibration motor on this phone is quite average and here's what it sounds like. Also, the phone comes with a dark tinted case, which is generous of Motorola to include in the box. The display on this phone is 6.8 inches big. It's a Full HD Plus resolution LCD panel with 395 ppi. It supports 120Hz refresh rate and HDR10. The typical brightness of this display is around 450 nits and 562 nits under bright conditions. The brightness on the G60s is adequate enough for daily usage for many. The viewing angles on this phone is pretty much average. There is a relatively discreet punch-hole camera located in the middle of the display. The bezels overall on this phone, including the bottom chin, is quite thin and overall good looking for the price. The display quality overall is decent, is quite sharp. The colors the display produces and the contrast ratio, well, I guess is average. It's essentially like any other LCD display at this price. The G60s is powered by the 12nm MediaTek Helio G95. Unfortunately, 5G isn't supported with this chipset. The Wi-Fi and data connectivity on this phone is decent. The Wi-Fi speeds I get on this phone is average, just like any other phone I've tested before. The performance you get from this processor is also decent. The app launching speeds is moderately quick. Apps like Twitter, Reddit or TikTok opens up under a few seconds. Although the performance is good, there are a few occasions where I've noticed the phone lag and have frame drop animations when opening, closing or switching between apps. This is kind of expected from a mid-range processor. The GPU you get with this phone is the Mali G76 MC4 variant. On PUBG, the maximum FPS you can get is 40 FPS. The gameplay overall on PUBG is quite good. It can slightly have frame drops here and there during close combats, but in general usage is quite smooth and consistent to play. There are 4 cameras with the G60s. Firstly, you got the main 64 megapixel camera, then you've got the 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera, you've got the 5 megapixel macro camera, and lastly the 2 megapixel mostly useless depth sensor. You are able to record up to 4K 30fps. There is no option to record in 60fps in the camera settings, unfortunately. This selfie camera is 16 megapixel camera and it can record up to, I believe, 1080p 30fps. The camera app doesn't say what resolution it records in when you use the selfie mode. It's got this feature called dual capture, which allows you to record both the back and the front camera simultaneously, which is an awesome feature. The photos from both the main and ultra-wide back cameras are good in bright conditions. The images look pleasant, the dynamic range is okay, the colors, clarity and details in the image is overall satisfactory. In low light conditions the phone's dynamic range tends to lack, but it doesn't do too badly overall. The images from the selfie camera is also quite pleasant to look at. It's detailed and it has high quality. The video recording on the phone is satisfactory. The stabilization may not be the best, however it's not too bad. The footage recorded at 4K is quite pleasing to look at, is vibrant and contains plenty of detail. The selfie video recording is not as good as the back camera, but it's good enough. The selfie video doesn't look as sharp or detailed, probably because it can't record 4K. But the video footage overall looks acceptable and is suitable for usage on video calling apps like Google Duo or WhatsApp. Also bear in mind the dynamic range on the selfie camera when recording outdoors isn't the best. So videos can look a little weird, especially when you're looking at the sky. It's usually overexposed and doesn't have much detail. Zero 0.5x. There is only one speaker on this phone. It doesn't have a lot of bass, but it does get reasonably loud, so it's good for watching content on YouTube or listening to music. But bear in mind, if you max out the volume, the sound can get tinny and it doesn't sound as detailed. Overall, the speaker gets the job done and is good enough. Also, this phone supports audio effect customization, so you are able to use sound profiles like bass punch or bass boost to make your listening experience even better. As for the storage and RAM, in the UK the only storage configuration you can get is 128GB of storage with 4GB of RAM. As mentioned before, this phone supports microSD card. Sadly, in the UK this phone comes with 4GB of RAM. I think in other regions this phone comes with 6GB of RAM, so check with your local carriers and distributors. Now with 4GB of RAM I'm able to have roughly 4 to 5 apps running in the background without it refreshing. I believe this is good enough for most people, but it would have been awesome to have the chance to upgrade to 6GB of RAM. Let's move on to the battery. it comes with a huge 5000 mAh battery, which is actually smaller compared to the 6000 mAh battery found on the previous G60. Considering that this phone is running 120Hz, this phone has no issues with battery life. The battery is exceptionally good. I'm a heavy user and this phone is able to last me an entire day and still have 20% battery remaining. As for the charging, the charger that comes with this phone is incredible. It's a 50-watt charger out of the box. And I have to mention this, the charger that comes with this phone has dual ports. So you are able to charge your phone as well as connect to another device thanks to the additional USB-A port. It's overall a clever design. The charging on this phone is so quick that in 30 minutes of charging you get more than 75% charge. And to reach 100% charge it takes less than an hour. This is some really innovative stuff and I'm glad that Motorola included this charger. And the added benefit is that the phone doesn't heat up too much when charging. It gets a little warm, however it's nowhere near enough to damage the battery health. This phone has many charging software features such as optimized charging and overcharge protection to prolong your battery health. Moving on to the software, this phone comes shipped with Android 11 with the July 2021 security patch out of the box. Unfortunately, Motorola doesn't tell us the update policy for this phone, so it's quite unlikely that this phone might get major updates like Android 12. The software that comes with this phone is essentially stock Android with very minimal useful Motorola features. Some features are this ambient display. This is a good alternative to an always-on display. There's another feature called attentive display where it uses the front camera to detect if you're looking at the screen. If you're looking at the screen, for example reading a news article, the display will remain on. However, if you're not looking at the display, then the display will turn off in your desired time. In my case it's 30 seconds. Something that needs to be mentioned is that the G60s doesn't have a compass. Google Maps and other apps still works fine, however just keep that in mind. Moving on to the price. The price of the Moto G60s is £220 in the UK or €270. For the specs this phone packs and the quirks you get such as the 50-watt charger in the box and a 120Hz display, it does seem that the £220 price tag is well worth it. It's overall a good phone with good specs and I would recommend anyone to get it. This is all for this video. Consider liking, and if you like tech videos then consider subscribing and turn on bell notifications. If you have any questions about this phone then let me know down in the comments below and I'll be sure to respond as soon as I can. That's all for now, see you in the next video.